From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
It's 5 o'clock here on your Monday morning. Good morning to you. I'm Megan Shin.
Megan, good morning. I'm Rafael Sanchez, and these are your headlines on this January the 4th.
But since the CDC has shortened that quarantine period to as low as 7 days, we feel comfortable that our students can come back on January the 4th instead of our original public health order of January the 18th.
Today, some students in Marion County will be returning to the classroom for the first time since November. This morning, how one local family is dealing with this unprecedented school year.
Plus, a new year and a new sobering pandemic milestone working for you. We're breaking down the latest numbers as the COVID-19 vaccine rollout hits a snag.
And let the debate begin, providing a new level of governance and civilian oversight. This morning, details on a proposal to put Metro Police in the hands of a state-appointed board. We'll have more on that developing story coming up on this first Monday of the new year. Good morning to you. Again, I'm Rafael Sanchez here from your official living room in Johnson County. And we, of course, have a new member, Todd, to the family. Megan Shin, Happy New Year to you.
Hey,
and welcome once again to Good Morning Indiana.
Yeah, thank you, Rafael. And it's great being here. Starting off the new year right with my favorite people. Todd Clausen, please tell me we'll have a little bit of sunshine today.
You know, I think there is some sunshine in the forecast today, Megan, which is always good news. You can kind of get into these winter doldrums sometimes with lots of clouds around, and there will be more clouds throughout the week, but today I'm hopeful for at least some sunshine. We still have the clouds in downtown Indianapolis right now, as you can see, as you look off to the west here. But the wind, not an issue here this morning. That is the good news. It is nice and calm. Temperatures are chilly. Obviously, you need the jacket, but it can get much colder. But you notice Bloomington, well, with the moon there and the clear skies indicated in the icon. And as a result, your temperature is a little bit colder at 23 compared to more in the way of clouds in Lafayette, and a temperature that's sitting at 28 degrees. But the clearing line is trying to work it to the north. Problem is there's a little more in the way of snow on the ground in northern locations, and that's adding some moisture to the atmosphere, and so that's why the clouds aren't quite clearing out there in northern locations. And this little disturbance off to our west, that is going to slide through around this time tomorrow. So until then, we will be completely dry. No threat of any precipitation in the forecast for your day today. And again, some sunshine working in. Temperatures today right around 40 degrees, but then the clouds will build this evening with that rain and snow mixture heading our way tomorrow morning. More on that coming up in just a few minutes. But right now at 5:02, let's get another update on the roadways with Megan.
Thanks, Todd. Let's take a look at the west side. This is I-465 at West 10th Street. Traffic here is moving smoothly. There are no accidents to report so far this morning. You'd see everything looks good so far on this Monday, the first Monday of the new year. And several school systems are returning to in-person learning for the first time since November due to the coronavirus, Rafael.
And Megan, WRTV's Kelsey Anderson, she joins us live on this Monday morning with the plans to deal with the ongoing COVID challenges. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Rafael. So Southport High School, they're one of the many schools going back today to school to in-person learning for the first time since November, which is huge for a lot of schools around the area. So one of the districts heading back to the classroom today is Perry Township, and students in kindergarten through 5th grade, they'll be back in the classroom Monday through Friday full time. And students in 6th through 12th grade are on a hybrid schedule, and others, including Nick and Alex Frank, they can start 2021 on a completely virtual schedule. Nick is a senior at Southport High School and was previously on the hybrid route, but he was able to do his senior season of cross country and was planning to play basketball. But this year, he said he's decided to now switch to the virtual option for his own health and safety.
Like, they're doing the same things they do online and in person. It's just like preparing me for college, like being like dependent on myself and like getting all my work done and like figuring out myself.
It's got to the point that we are concerned for their health and their safety. Parents, you have to trust that they're checking their students before they put them on a bus. And by the time they get to school, they've already been exposed to other staff and students. And you have no say in that until, you get a phone call saying that they've been exposed.
So Perry Township is reminding parents to be prepared if COVID-19 rates increase in the county. Back to school plans could be adjusted once again. Now, Pike Township, They also are starting school today, but they again will still not be in person. They're going to be all online because right now their positivity rate is at 13.3%, which is above their threshold of 10.4%. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Kelsey, thank you. Tomorrow, students in Hamilton Southeastern schools will begin their second semester virtually. As you may recall, last month, the Board of Trustees voted to keep all students out of the classroom all the way through January the 15th. This after the Fishers Health Department says the current community risk is at level 4 or severe risk. According to the health department, about 20% of their ICU beds are available and daily hospitalizations remain high. The school board plans to reassess the situation at next week's meeting. Megan?
Rafael, across the state, cases of COVID-19 are still on the rise. Over the weekend, state health officials reported more than 8,400 new cases of the virus. To date, 526,071 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. The state's 7-day positivity rate is now at 14.7%. State health officials also report an additional 56 Hoosier deaths. And since March, 8,111 Hoosiers have died with the virus.
Another grim milestone, the national death toll from the pandemic now stands at more than 350,000 Americans. For context, that's more than the entire population of the city of Fort Wayne. To make matters worse, the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines are happening at a much slower pace than was promised. The White House had said 20 million Americans would be vaccinated before the new year. But the CDC reports just 4 million Americans have received the first dose of the vaccine. According to the agency, about 13 million doses of both Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines have been distributed across the country. Now, meanwhile, the FDA is meeting this week to consider giving half doses of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine to people ages 18 through 55. The head of Operation Warp Speed says clinical data shows the vaccine can be just as effective as half doses in that age group. If approved, the move would make the coronavirus vaccine available to twice as many people under the age of 55. It is not clear yet if the same half-dose strategy will work with Pfizer's vaccine.
Rafael, developing this morning, Metro Police are investigating the third deadly shooting of the new year. This was seen Sunday evening on West Coyle Street near West 64th Street and Michigan Road on the north side. Officers found a man suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. He was pronounced dead at the scene. As of this morning, no suspect information has been released. The incident remains under investigation.
The two state senators want the state to take control of Metro Police from the mayor and the city county council. This as the department, as you know, deals with the aftermath of two high-profile officer-involved shootings and a record number of homicides in the year 2020. Republican Senators Jack Sandlin of Indianapolis and Scott Baldwin of Noblesville are behind Senate Bill 168. Under their proposal, a 5-member board would be appointed by the governor, with the mayor of Indianapolis filling the 5th seat. Sandlin and Baldwin are both former IMPD officers. Sandlin tells WRTV the proposal would help restore trust in the department.
In order for police to have good community relations, there has to be trust. And right now, I don't see any trust. And so took a look at some models in some other places and tried to figure out a way that we might be able to respond to some of the issues that are currently going on and help reinstill that trust.
If the bill makes it through the State House, the board would take over in January of the year 2023. Now, several years ago, an attempt to run the newly created IMPD after it merged with the sheriff's office with a board was tried, but that was dropped. We did reach out to the mayor's office as well as to Metro Police via email about the latest plan. We're still waiting for their responses. We'll hear more from Senator Sandlin on his proposal coming up at 6 o'clock right here on Good Morning Indiana. But first on this Monday morning, let's check your forecast with meteorologist Todd Clausen. Good morning, TK.
Hey, Raphael. Good morning to you. A lot of people heading back to work today after the long holiday stretch here with Christmas and New Year's. And as you kind of get back in the flow, we're starting you off with a decent morning commute with temperatures that are in the upper 20s. So we are below freezing as we go throughout the course of the morning. And there's still a little bit moisture on the roadways, so can't rule out the chance of a slick spot, but no incoming precipitation in the forecast today. And then partly cloudy skies as you come home with a temperature right around 39 degrees. Now, tomorrow morning's commute may be a little more tricky for some of you. There's not a lot of moisture out there, but you notice this broken line of rain and mixed precipitation. That is going to swing through our area around this time tomorrow. And there could be a quick coating or some slick spots on the roadways. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But look at the temperatures this week. They really just don't do a whole lot. We're in the 30s for the most part. And that's because, unfortunately, the clouds are really going to stick around throughout the course of the entire week. Not much in the way of sunshine, but no major storm systems. That's the trade-off. More on your forecast in detail coming up in Maine weather in just a couple minutes.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
A push by President Trump to overturn Georgia's election results caught on tape. Straight ahead, what he is now saying about that phone call and reaction from lawmakers across the country.
And with more vaccines on the way, it's time to start thinking about your post-pandemic routine and the effect it could have on your pets. Up next, advice from experts on how to make that transition much easier. That and much more coming up right here on WRTV.
The car you want, the way you want.
Welcome back. Developing this morning, President Trump heard in a newly released audio recording pressuring election officials in Georgia to, quote, find more votes and overturn his election loss in the state. And the call comes as a growing number of Republicans plan to challenge President-elect Joe Biden's victory. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has the very latest from Washington.
In an hour-long phone call, President Trump is heard urging election officials in Georgia to reverse his loss to Joe Biden.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
During the recording of the call Saturday, first obtained by the Washington Post and then by ABC News, President Trump pushed Georgia's Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to recalculate the vote. Georgia's ballots have already been counted 3 times, confirming Biden's win.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
The president repeated conspiracy theories about the election without providing any evidence. Trump and his allies have lost more than 50 legal cases nationwide trying to prove voter fraud.
We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this.
The call raises questions about whether the president violated election laws.
I don't think you're going to see any criminal charges here in connection with what has happened. But there is certainly an argument that the president has walked right up to the line.
Vice President-elect Kamala Harris claims the president abused his power.
And it was a bald-faced, bold abuse of power by the President of the United States.
The call comes as 140 House Republicans and at least a dozen senators plan to object to the Electoral College results in Congress Wednesday. And ahead of Georgia's crucial runoff elections tomorrow, both President Trump and President-elect Biden will be campaigning in the state today. The outcome of the 2 races will determine which party controls the U.S. Senate. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
Meanwhile, all 10 living former U.S. Secretaries of Defense took the unusual step of co-signing a letter saying that the election is over and urging the Pentagon not to get involved. The letter published in the Washington Post on Sunday is a message to Congress before it counts the Electoral College votes on Wednesday. In it, the bipartisan group says, quote, the time for questioning the outcome of the election is over, end quote. They also urge Congress to accept Joe Biden as the next president. A former Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, says the letter was made necessary because President Trump is following, in his words, an unconstitutional path.
Raphael, in a rare Sunday session, newly elected and returning members of Congress took the oath of office. The first day of the new Congress looked a bit different this year with the safety precautions because of the pandemic. That includes the number of senators sworn in at a time, which was smaller to minimize crowding. And record-setting number of women, Black and Latino members, and members who identify as LGBTQ were sworn in. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the only woman to serve in the role, was re-elected for a fourth non-consecutive term.
So do you remember before COVID? Remember that time, sometime before, March, February of last year? Shaking hands was a common way to greet one another. Usually we didn't even think about it, right? We just shake hands. Not so much. Now etiquette experts expect most people to be okay with shaking hands when it's safe to do so. But we should expect some people to be quite hesitant. A recent Harris poll for Fast Company found that 54% of people would be happy to never shake someone's hand ever again. In those instances, it's up to the person who does not want to shake hands to let it be known. There are also some optional greetings we can use now and in the future. Remember things like the elbow and fist bumps, head nods, and a simple verbal hello. After vaccination, Todd Clausen, I'm giving you a bear hug if you're okay with it, man.
All right. I'm fine with that. We'll get vaccinated and you can shake my hand and give me a bear hug, whatever you want to do, Raphael. All right, outside right now, we're talking about quiet weather. As far as today's forecast goes, I think we'll see some sunshine in the forecast today. But there's a little bit of a wintry mix that's going to slide in here during the overnight hours. But overall, this week is going to be a quiet week of weather for us from start to finish. There's no big storm systems that are going to be heading our way. Outside right now, we are dealing with mostly cloudy skies in Indy. The temperature sits at 28 degrees. No wind to factor in. It's very light out of the southeast right now at 3 miles per hour. But there's a little bit of moisture out here, and that's making it kind of have that damp feel once again. So that makes these temperatures feel just slightly colder. But you don't factor in a wind chill just because of the dampness out there. It has to be obviously with some stronger winds, which we don't have this morning. 23 in Bloomington and Bedford right now, where the skies have cleared a little bit. 30 in Greenfield. Tipton and Peru also at that 30-degree mark. 28 is the current temperature over in Lafayette. I think we'll thin the clouds out at times here throughout the day today, but overall it's probably still going to go into the books as a mostly cloudy day. But the temperatures today should get up to right around 40 to 41 degrees later on this afternoon for your high temperature. And today's potentially, with the sunshine, going to be the warmest day that we have this week. Here's where the skies have cleared already. Terre Haute to Bloomington to Seymour, trying to clear from Indianapolis to the north. And I think eventually we will get there. But look at this storm system off to our west. Again, not very potent. It's not your classic big storm system with an area of low pressure heading our way, but it will bring a little bit of a light wintry mix into our area during the overnight hours. You're still fine if you do have plans this Monday evening. Just mostly cloudy skies tonight with temperatures that'll be hovering in the mid-30s. But let me go over to TrueCast for you, and I'll fast forward it here into the overnight hours. And this wintry mix coming into western portions of the state right around 2 in the morning, and then it works its way from west to east, probably coming through the metro area between about 3 and 4 o'clock, and then it races off towards the east. As far as any potential accumulation, the low temperatures are going to be hovering right around the freezing mark. So it's borderline and not a slam dunk case that you will see accumulating snow. But I do think if you do see the accumulation, with the best chance being to the north, we're probably talking about a ½ an inch or less, but enough to cause a few slick spots tomorrow morning. Then the rest of your 7-day planning forecast, not much in the way of precipitation heading our way, with temperatures running at or just a little bit below normal, with highs that are going to be in the mid to upper 30s. Megan?
Thanks, Todd. Well, taking a look at the traffic camera, I-465 at Meridian Street on the north side looks clear out there. No accidents on the interstate to report at this time. Not many cars out there, but we'll keep an eye on things as the morning continues. Raphael.
It will build up in a matter of hours. Thank you, Megan. As more Americans, of course, get vaccinated, there's a chance that more people will return to work and school later this year. But that will leave many pets home alone once again. So an animal behavior professor at Purdue University has some tips for making that transition for your pets much smoother. She says work up to leaving for longer periods of time to help your dog or your cat. If you have nowhere to go, just pull your car out of the garage and sit for a few minutes so that they think that you've left. You could also give them toys or treats to focus on while you work in a different room. If your pets have a really tough time with the adjustment, experts suggest that you consult your veterinarian. A big win for the Colts on Sunday coming up. A recap of the game and a look at their first matchup on the road to the Super Bowl. Megan?
And a Carmel family is staying connected during the pandemic through quilting. Ahead at 5:30, how their family bonding is helping others. That story more coming up just after the break.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. A thrilling, right, finish to the season for the Colts. Go Colts, and now they find themselves with a spot in the NFL playoffs. The Colts defeated Jacksonville on Sunday, as you know, 28-24. Jonathan Taylor set a team record with 253 rushing yards. He also scored 2 touchdowns. The win earns the Colts an AFC wildcard spot. They play in Buffalo next Saturday at 1 o'clock. Coming up at 5:30 right here on Good Morning Indiana, our Brad Brown has a look at how the day came together, reaction from the Colts, and a look at the first weekend of the postseason. Todd, it was a great weekend to watch football at home, especially with a Colts win.
Yeah, you know, I pretty much did that New Year's Day and then all through the weekend, Raphael, first with college and then, as you mentioned, yeah, the NFL, and great to see the Colts pull that game out. I got a little dicey there, as Brad will explain in the second half, but a win's a win, right? On to Buffalo we go. Outside right now, temperatures are sitting in the 20s and 30s across the area. A little colder to the south where the skies have cleared, a little warmer with more clouds in northern locations. 30 is the current temperature in Tipton, but obviously you have to grab the jacket no matter where you are, which will be the case obviously throughout the entire month of January. Some sunshine works in as the morning goes on. Temperatures will climb through the mid-30s, and then this afternoon we'll have some sunshine as well before the clouds gather later on this evening. By this time tomorrow, a little bit of a rain-snow mixture moving through. More on that coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
At 10 on WRTV. From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, students in Marion County are allowed back in the classrooms for the first time since November. Our Kelsey Anderson explains how districts are preparing to safely resume in-person learning.
And health experts expecting that COVID-19 vaccinations to ramp up this week. The strategy some doctors are now proposing to distribute more doses all across central Indiana.
Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to Good Morning Indiana on this Monday morning, the first one of the new year, Raphael. It's a good one so far.
Megan, good morning to you. And of course, our good friend Lauren Casey is off today. She is celebrating her anniversary. So Todd Clausen, she deserves a nice dose of sunshine as she continues her time off.
Yeah, you know, she'll be back tomorrow celebrating. I think she went down to Nashville. So nice little getaway with her husband and some friends and family. And temperatures outside this morning are sitting in the 20s and 30s across the area. So obviously you need to bundle up here this time of year almost every morning, but especially here in Bloomington at 23, it's 28 in Indy, 30 in Peru, 34 is the current temperatures. You work your way over into the months here. One thing I'm keeping an eye on is the potential for a little bit of fog. No visibility issues right now anywhere you go across central Indiana, but there is a dense fog advisory in Illinois. And you notice the visibility is trying to reduce a little bit here on the far western portion of the state. But overall, I think we should remain in decent shape here in most of central Indiana this morning. And here's the view off to the west. You see that there's no issues in downtown Indianapolis. The sky is starting to try to clear a little bit. We'll get some sunshine in here today. It's not going to be a completely sunny day for us, but I will call it partly cloudy, at least to start, and then the clouds gather later on this evening with temperatures that'll be pretty seasonable as we top off right around 40 degrees.
Thanks, Todd. Also, a reminder, State Road 37 in Martinsville is now closed. It will stay that way for most of 2021. The closure will stretch from State Road 39 on the south end of the town to Morgan Street, north of State Road 44. It will allow highway construction crews to work faster and more safely on the I-69 extension project. Now, the detour to get you around this is quite lengthy, so you'll want to leave plenty of time on your morning commute and download the WRTV app for how to detour around this major project. Raphael.
Keep that project in mind. Thank you, Megan. It's back to school for thousands of kids in central Indiana. And Megan, usually this would not be a big deal.
But many of these students have been remote learning since November due to COVID-19. WRTV's Kelsey Anderson joins us live with the schools in session. Good morning, Kelsey.
Hey, good morning, Megan. So Southport High School, they're one of the schools that are going to be opening here in Marion County for the first time, again, since November, like you said. So one of the districts heading back to the classroom today is Perry Township, and students in kindergarten through 5th grade, they will be back in the classroom Monday through Friday. And students in 6th through 12th grade, they're going to be on that hybrid schedule with the option to be full virtual if they want. E-learning is proving to be a challenge for some students. We talked to a mother who says her son needs extra assistance and she feels comfortable sending him and his brother back to school.
It was kind of like, oh my gosh, they're shutting down. Like, this is real. Like, so it was hard, especially, they have to have that social aspect. And it's when they're not getting that, they can Zoom, but it's not the same as having that physical interaction with your teachers, with your friends. So it's hard for them. They're ready to go back to school.
And Perry Township is reminding parents to be prepared if COVID-19 rates increase in the county, that back to school plans could be adjusted once again. So the word, I guess, we're going to bring into 2021 is flexibility. Now, Pike Township, they also start school today, but they will not be in person since the percent positivity rate is at 13.3%. That is currently above their threshold of 10.4%. So we want to wish everybody going back to school today a happy first day back to school in 2021. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Good morning to Lebanon, Greencastle, and Columbus. Here's a look at Indiana's latest COVID-19 numbers. More than 8,000 new cases of the virus were reported just this weekend alone. The State Department of Health confirmed 5,429 cases on Saturday and just over 3,000 on Sunday. Indiana now has more than 526,000 total cases. 95 new deaths were also reported over the weekend. 8,111 Hoosiers have died with COVID-19 since this pandemic began.
Rafael, COVID vaccinations are expected to ramp up this week, but some doctors are calling for a new strategy. That includes possibly cutting doses in half. ABC's Alex Prochet explains.
This morning, doctors are bracing for an onslaught of new COVID cases.
We're averaging 2,000 to 3,000 deaths per day. When an event occurs like the Christmas and New Year's holiday, you usually have a couple of week lag before you see an additional uptick of cases, which is always followed by hospitalizations and deaths.
Despite warnings to stay home, airlines have seen more than 14 million passengers in the past 2 weeks, even as the U.S. death toll surges higher.
It's like treading water from 100 feet below the surface. You're already drowning, but you just have to keep trying because that's what you can do.
COVID hospitalizations topping 100,000 for more than a month. California seeing the worst of it.
What's happening in Los Angeles can and will be coming to many communities across America.
In L.A., the Army Corps of Engineers now helping hospitals running low on oxygen. Overwhelmed funeral homes now turning away families. And in the Bay Area, at least 43 staffers at this San Jose hospital have tested positive. The outbreak being linked to a worker who wore an inflatable Christmas costume. The county is now banning employee break rooms for all businesses. And across the country, near Boston, a second emergency field hospital is opening today.
This is going to be an exclusively COVID positive place.
Meanwhile, this morning, a new vaccine is bringing hope. The first doses of Oxford's vaccine, praised for being cheaper and easier to store, are now being distributed in the UK. Back here in the U.S., the rollout of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines remains on a slower than expected pace.
There have been a couple of glitches, that's understandable.
Some of the first public vaccine events were held this weekend in places like Houston, where 250,000 people called the health department for only 750 appointments.
No, I just want to get back to normal. I want to see my kids. I want to go back to work.
Operation Warp Speed officials are now considering drastic measures, possibly giving out half doses of the Moderna vaccine to, in effect, double their supply of shots.
We know it induces identical immune response.
But Dr. Anthony Fauci warned against stretching the doses.
We don't know whether or not that's going to be good enough.
Alex Prochet, ABC News, New York.
It's back to work for Indiana lawmakers who officially begin their new session today. Some of the main items on the agenda include, as you may recall, COVID-19 relief programs and support for schools. Others include oversight of IMPD, medical marijuana, and voting centers. Lawmakers are also making some changes to ensure that social distancing during this session. The state Senate will space out senators by having some sit upstairs in the spectators gallery. Lawmakers in the House will be moving all of their work across the street to the Indiana Government Center. Megan?
Raphael, I love this story. A Carmel family is staying connected during the pandemic through quilting, and the activity is helping others at the same time. Edith Lessie is a grandmother and has been passing the time by making quilts for charity. In 2020 alone, she donated 50 to hospitals and homeless shelters.
I have to keep busy, and especially with the lockdown, I'd have lost my mind if I wouldn't have had something to do. I'm 95 years old. But God gave me the strength and some eyesight that I can still do that. And I enjoy doing it because I was taught that you do things for others. And I have tried to do that all of my life.
95 years old and still making a difference. Now, Edith says she plans to donate even more this year with the help of her two daughters who run Generations Quilting Studio. Time now is 5:39, and let's check in on the weather with meteorologist Todd Clausen. Hey, Todd.
Yeah, kids going back to school in many locations today after the nice winter break over the holidays, and they're going back to pretty quiet conditions all across the area. And it's the same for those of you heading back to work on this Monday. We'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies here this morning. Temperatures in the upper 20s. No precipitation out there, but just a little bit of patchy fog in spots as the kids come home from school. Some sunshine out there throughout the day today. We're never going to completely get rid of the clouds, but I do think we'll thin them out just a little bit for some sunshine here throughout the day today. Now, there's a little bit of a wintry mix off to our west. Not a lot of moisture here. Obviously not very impressive on a radar, but this is going to head our way, arriving around this time tomorrow. So as we go in to the overnight hours and we get into your Tuesday morning commute, there could be a few slick spots out there as this light wintry mix moves through. Temperatures are going to be hovering right around freezing, so it's not a slam dunk case that there could be some snow accumulation. But we'll talk more about this light wintry mix in detail for you coming up in Maine weather in just a couple minutes.
Thanks, Todd. Well, mothers of homicide victims are rallying together. They're calling for change from IMPD. Coming up, why one woman says detectives need to better communicate with victims' families.
And the Colts have secured their spot, yes, indeed, in the playoffs. A look at their first matchup on the road to the Super Bowl. You're watching Good Morning Indiana, right here on WRTV.
Hey, and ask about Prolia.
You can't even grieve because you're always wondering, has my child been forgotten about? Does anybody hear me? Do they care?
Nearly 7 months after her son was shot and killed in Indianapolis, a mother is fighting for change. She's now calling for better communication between IMPD homicide detectives and families of homicide victims. Melissa Jude's 20-year-old son, Chandler Bussey, was killed on June 12th at Arsenal Park. She says there have been no arrests in the case, and she hasn't heard or been able to get in touch with detectives from the case. She found out other victims' families are also having similar problems. Jude says that is one reason they're planning a peaceful protest of the city-county building today. She says the mothers want to send a message to city leaders, detectives, and prosecutors that their children matter and they want answers.
We're grieving, and most of us, it's our first holiday without our kids, and it's something that a lot of them probably can't imagine how it feels. Listen to us. Do they know the lack of communication that really goes on? And just understand our frustration with how a lot of these investigations are going, and we are just left to feel as if, our kids don't matter or they don't care.
Jude says the mothers are also calling for better protection for witnesses. She says they do not want to see another year with 245 homicides like we had in 2020. In response, IMPD sent the following statement to WRTV saying in part, quote, IMPD has overcome many challenges this year, most notably the nationwide spike in violence brought to bear on our community. Despite the increased workload, our detectives remain focused on solving each and every homicide, end quote. Raphael.
Megan, President-elect Joe Biden's inaugural committee is telling people to watch from home when he's sworn into office in a matter of days. The parade that will take place after the ceremony on Inauguration Day is going virtual. Similar to the Democratic National Convention, the virtual parade will feature performances in communities across our country. The committee says the parade will celebrate American heroes and highlight diversity as well as heritage. Participants will be announced in the coming weeks. On this Monday morning, let's check your local forecast with meteorologist Todd Clausen. Good morning, Todd.
Raphael, good morning to you. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope everybody had a great start to the new year. We had a little bit of a light wintry mix yesterday. Some of you saw a little bit of snow in northern locations, nothing from Indianapolis down to the south. And this morning, we're starting you off with a little bit of sunshine, obviously, once the sun comes up. But here throughout the morning hours, the skies are in the process of clearing out. There's a little bit of patchy fog in some far western locations, but not a huge ordeal for us. Then partly sunny this afternoon, but the clouds quickly gather late afternoon, early this evening with temperatures that are pretty seasonable for this time of year. Where there's more clouds in place, temperatures in the 30s this morning where the skies are a little bit clearer. That's where we find temperatures that are in the 20s. Bloomington down to Bedford, Martinsville at 28 degrees, as is Indianapolis. And throughout the morning hours here, until the sun comes up, our temperatures really not going to do a whole lot in either direction. And then once the sun does come up, you notice how we'll warm to the mid-30s by the time we get to the 11 o'clock hour. Here's the clearing line. It's trying really hard to push here into the Indianapolis area, but you notice it fills back in with a little bit of cloud cover. Definitely more in the way of clouds to the north here on this Monday morning. And then as we expand out, you notice this little tiny wave of rain, snow, and kind of a sleet mixture. It's not very impressive, but this wave is heading in our direction, and it will arrive by about this time tomorrow. So today is a dry day for us with, again, a little bit of sunshine here or there. Temperatures with the snowpack on the ground, a little bit colder this afternoon here in Logansport as well as Marion, only mid-30s for highs compared to highs generally right around 40 degrees in the metro area. And then as we slide down to the south, temperatures a little bit warmer, a little more in the way of sunshine. Should be getting up to about 44 today in Bloomington as well as Columbus. Seymour right around 45 degrees as well. Speaking of Bloomington, then you're heading to dinner on the town square down there. Down there, temperatures will be in the mid-30s as we go throughout the evening hours with skies that, again, will start to become mostly cloudy for almost all of us out ahead of that weak little disturbance that I mentioned is going to come through. So let me go over to TrueCast for you, and here's the timeline. This is 11 o'clock tonight. We're still just dealing with clouds. By the time we get into the overnight hours, this is coming through, but it's just a little band of mixed precipitation. This is not a huge event for us by weather standards, but obviously when you're dealing with any sort of snow, could create some slick conditions on the roadways, and the timing is right before the morning commute, so it's obviously essential we point it out to you. But temperatures are going to be hovering right around freezing tomorrow morning, so it's going to be a bit of a close call and definitely not a guarantee that you're going to see snow in your neighborhood. In fact, for those of you in southern locations, I think you probably don't really get into much of anything in the way of snowfall, but we could get up to a couple tenths of an inch of snow as this comes through tomorrow morning. Obviously enough to make the roadways a little slick in spots. I don't think it's a widespread ordeal for us. And then the rest of the week, kind of just pretty quiet. Not much in the way of sunshine that'll be heading our way, and temperatures that'll be pretty seasonable, anywhere from about 35 to 40 degrees. Raphael and Megan for afternoon highs.
Todd, thank you so much. The Colts are officially in the playoffs. Megan and I have our blues on just to support the team after the win over the Jaguars, giving them, of course, a slot in the wild card game.
Yes, and our Brad Brown breaks down their path to the postseason and who the Colts will face this weekend.
Sometime a bit after 3 p.m. Sunday, it was evident the Bills were going to take care of their game against the Dolphins. That Buffalo win opened the door for the Colts to earn their way into the postseason.
Before we went out for warm-ups, it looked like Buffalo had the game under control. Obviously, we didn't have that score up on the scoreboard while we were out there warming up. That was obviously planned. Now hey, let's focus. We still got to take care of business.
It wouldn't be easy, but it was certainly memorable. Jonathan Taylor set the pace from his very first touches of the game. A 56-yard sprint on his second carry had the Colts offense rolling right away. By the end of the first quarter, he was already past 100 yards, and his season total passed 1,000.
You kind of get a feel of just the huddle, and you get a feel of the defense. I mean, the defense, you can see those guys getting worn down. You see those guys getting tired, and then in the huddle, your guys are juiced up, ready to go. I mean, you guys have a ton of energy. You guys are ready to fight for not only 60 minutes, you guys can go 2 hours if you wanted to.
By the time Taylor leapt over the pile near the goal line, the Colts had increased their lead to 17-0. For the half, 137 rushing yards for Taylor. The Jags managed just 136 total offense. But the second half took on a very different vibe. It started with Rodrigo Blankenship hitting the upright on a 49-yard field goal. Mike Glennon's second touchdown pass of the game suddenly had the margin down to just 6. After Phillip Rivers threw an interception late in the third quarter, the pressure felt like it was mounting on the Colts entering the fourth.
It felt, again, like I said last week, we felt a little bit this week like we were in hang on, where we're hanging on to something a little bit. And we didn't shut the door like we should have, kicking field goals a couple times in the first half, and then obviously we turn it over, and then, but each week stands alone.
The defense would have to make a couple more stops. 6 sacks in the game. DeForest Buckner had a pair of those. Kamoko Toure had his first of the season. The Colts were finally able to bring pressure on Glennon.
In the second half, we knew it was going to be on us, and, we just had to take it one play at a time. We just kept preaching to each other. We just got to take it one play at a time and get off the field. 3 and out our takeaways, and we did our business today and handled our business.
The final stamp on the Colts' ticket to the playoffs would come from Taylor, showing the power and speed that made him a star at Wisconsin. 45-yard touchdown, capping a team record 253-yard rushing performance. The Colts tagged on a 2-point conversion, and in the blink of an eye, they were on their way to a dynamic 28-14 win.
The game's not over until it's over, so getting in victory mode and knowing that, hey, all we got to do is secure this kneel down, and, we're in the playoffs. It was a good feeling.
Less than 20 minutes after the Colts took a knee to win, the Titans had a heart-stopping finish in Houston. As time expired, Sam Sloman banged home a 37-yard field goal off the upright and good to clinch the AFC South. Tennessee wins 41-38, so the Colts will have to settle for a wild card.
We second place in our division. All right, now let's go on the road. Let's make some noise on the road. Let's control what we can control, and let's just play good ball. And hopefully we can continue to do that when we go play against Buffalo and let the chips fall where they fall at.
The Colts and Bills will play the first game of the NFL's newly expanded wild card round. 1 o'clock start on Saturday. Great storylines all around. Frank Reich returning to Buffalo, where he played for so many years, and it was essentially the Bills that helped the Colts get in with that win over Miami. The Titans will host the Ravens. We'll have that game next Sunday at 1 here on WRTV. The Browns and Steelers will cap the weekend with a rematch in Pittsburgh next Sunday night. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
All right, good Monday morning. The time is 5:57 as we're kicking off a new work week, the first full work week of the year in 2021. Temperatures, as you see on either side of me, in the 20s and 30s. A little cooler in Bloomington at 23, where the skies have cleared. 31 in Kokomo, 30 in Logansport. Radar is completely quiet. There's no moisture out there as far as anything falling from the sky. There is a little bit of patchy fog that is starting to develop across parts of the area, especially in western locations. Shouldn't be a huge problem for us today. We'll burn any fog off pretty quickly. Some sunshine in the forecast today. We're not looking at a whole lot, but I do think the skies will start to brighten a little bit with seasonable temperatures as we'll be topping off today. Raphael, right around 38 degrees.
Todd, thank you. What began as a trial run will be the new way of doing business to address COVID concerns. I'll show you the new system meant to keep people safe and healthy in the courtroom when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.